It is in sync. It's called Better Place on the Drive with Rob and Roz. Good afternoon. My name is Rob Forbes.
Goeiemiddag. My naam is Razan McKenzie. Dit is donderdag. Die kinders is al vir 2 dae by die skool en alles is baie beter.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I tell you, today, before I came here, I had some admin to do at home. And for the past, obviously, 7 weeks, I haven't been able to do that in peace. Because of die iPads is aan, of hulle skree op mekaar, of hulle hardloop op en af, en dink ek kan saam speel. But today, I had peace.
Roz sitting at home. Typey. Oh, a cup of coffee. Let me go and do that in quiet.
Bliss.
Heaven.
Bliss.
Matric exam results coming out today and tomorrow, obviously. And the big announcements and so on are being made. I know Breakfast with Martin Bester were talking about it this morning as well. Do you remember if you were happy with your matric results?
I was, yes. There was one, I was one of those people that appealed.
Oh, really?
I got a 78 on English first language because I could Engels en Afrikaans eerste taal gedoen. So my Afrikaans was way higher than my English. And I got a 78 and I queried it and I got it back in an 80.
Hey.
I was not playing. I wanted that other distinction. I wanted it.
Is it ever a thing where you query it and you get it back and now it's 74?
That has happened.
Does it happen?
And I've known that has happened.
That's wild.
And were you happy with your matric results?
No.
Why?
I did AVs, I'll be honest. I got 2 A's, a B, a C, and 2 D's. The 2 D's were mathematics and accountancy, which is why I talk for a living and I don't look at numbers. I couldn't stand those subjects. It was okay. I was a little disappointed. I was like, I'm smarter than that.
Yeah.
I know I'm smarter than that. Did I work hard? No.
No.
Maar at least I can be honest with myself. I kan eerlik wees.
Well, for me, I mean, you can see how we all don't change, right? Because for me, I calculated exactly what I needed to get into accounting sciences to do the bare minimum. and I needed, I think it was an M score of 16. And I was like, if I get an A for Spady, if I get 2 B's and this and that and whatever. And then I got exactly what I aimed for.
Yeah.
And I got my M score of 16.
Look at you, Joe, setting goals and reaching them,
see?
sir.
I tell you, reach for the stars. Reach for the stars.
No, I'm just trying to think because today's obviously the day and lots of the results and so on are out and people are going to be buying newspapers and things. I'm just trying to take my mind back to that feeling of how I felt on the day. I think I was a bit meh.
But did you put in the work
No.
to not be
No, I
meh?
didn't,
Okay,
Roseanne.
and that, my friend, is the end of this conversation.
My mother likes to tell the story to this day. When I was about 15, I was studying for an exam and she wanted to help me. And I was like, don't help me anymore. I can do this by myself. And she said, okay.
Sure.
And that was the end.
And that was a weight off her shoulders. And
Yes.
she was like,
Yes.
And then she just left you.
I'll keep poking this child, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
micromanage and stare over his shoulder. And now we're just mid.
Yeah, but does anyone really ever ask you, now that you've been in radio for over 20 years?
Dis die ander ding
Yes,
dat-
en jou 40's, wie vra jou?
Well, this is where I wanted to get to. Like 10 years into your professional career, it doesn't matter what you do. 10 years, whatever you do for a living. Like, when was the last time you bothered to even, like, I don't know where my matric certificate is. If
Neither
somebody
do I.
asked for one, for an official thing so that they can prove that, I have one, I would be unable to prove my matriculantism.
I'm shocked.
I'm not, do you have the certificates?
Of course, in a folder, in a safe at home, along with passports, birth certificates, UCT degrees, all of... Hi, nee, Rob, jy stres my nou verskriklik uit.
Why would I need it?
In case
of what?
In case someone asked you to show us your
Again.
D's that you got there for maths and accounting.
Which then loops us nicely circularly. When last did someone ask you, Roz? So, we're going to be talking about the world of work and the end of school and stuff. That's going to be our first hour conversation this afternoon.
It's Charlie Puth and Megan Trainor with Marvin Gaye on the drive with Robin Ross. Lots of people starting first jobs, starting school, starting varsity, or not varsity. Varsity se vakansies is mos baie lank. But starting new things this week.
Yeah, it's been a big time for a lot of change for a lot of people. And I know there's lots happening in so many lives of people I know. New jobs taken up, new positions, and so on and so forth. And I know a bunch of people in their 20s who are getting into sort of senior stuff now, right? You know, when you're getting real responsibility, you're out of varsity now and you're getting into the world, and now people have expectations of you. So we've got a question for you this afternoon. The WhatsApp line, 084 8500 942. If you're a professional person, if you've been working, I'm not talking about you wear a tie to work. I'm talking about, you know what you're doing. You know your thing.
You've paid your dues.
Yeah. If you're over 30, what advice professionally would you give to someone in their early 20s right now who's just embarking on their work journey through life? The one you're so excited to get into because everything up to this point's been education, and now I'm out in the world and I'm on my own 2 feet and I can do my own thing. And all of us in our 30s and 40s look back and we're like, I wish I knew a couple of things.
Yeah.
What is a piece of advice you would share?
I think it's also super important not to gatekeep information. I think people get so threatened van jonger mense wat dalk in die werksplek inkom en dan is het nee, ek gaan nie hierdie vir hulle sê nie want dan gaan ek my werk verloor. And I don't think that it works that way.
No, I'm a big fan of tell everyone as much as they want
100%.
to know. You know, share all of the info because, like, you know, if something as difficult that you had to learn took time, some people are like, oh, well, it took me time, so I want to hold on to that so that it takes other people time as well. I'm like, no, let me save you some time and tell you the thing so that you don't have to spend 3 years working this out.
Yeah.
So, what is that advice? 084 8500 942 is the WhatsApp line. We want to put together a top 10 tips that we can go and share onto the website later. Keep them coming and they are already flying.
Lit.
We're asking you to share advice. If you're older than 30, what would you tell someone in their 20s just starting out their career? Because it is that time of the year. And the very first answer we got from Simone de Koker. She is quirkering with this reply. This is the one.
That's easy, guys. The piece of advice is don't do it. Marry rich. Follow me for more life hacks.
She's got it right, actually. Here we are trying to be sensible. And marry rich.
Yes.
Well, look, I mean, that's an option. But so for me, the one piece of advice that I would give you is learn the art of sucking up. And by sucking up, I mean, like, let the right people know that you're good at your job. Because it doesn't help your colleagues who are on the same level as you think you're great, but then the management doesn't. You know what I mean?
Be popular upward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Upward popularity.
There it is. But actually, you make a point. Annika is saying work advice, work on your EQ, which is what you're talking about. But don't get involved in the office gossip. And a bunch of people saying, you know, don't get involved in playing the politics and trying to get ahead like that, because that's not the way it works. They want you to, you know, share some things.
You know, my son had just started a new job, and my advice to him was and will be take out a pension fund, sort out those kind of things for your future now that you're young and you can start doing these things. Look at your future and not at now. That would be my advice to any young child starting school, starting work or whatever.
And that's not the fun one, but it is necessary.
Ja, hulle sê altyd die beste tyd om te begin met beleggings en aftreegeld is gister.
Shall
100%.
I trot out my favorite fact again?
Please do. I love it.
This is my favorite fact. If you take the same amount of money and you put it away every month from the time you're 20 to the time you're 30, and then you stop and it earns the same interest rate, or if you start at 30 and put it away until you're 65, the person did it from 20 to 30 and then stopped has more money at the end of the day. Begin om vroeg.
That is disgusting.
It is disgusting. Where was this in life orientation?
Yeah.
Why does no one tell us these useful things? So, Jamie, thank you for that. The boring stuff is important. But what would be your top life hacks for someone 15, 20 years younger than you, coming into the workplace for the first time? Let's help out today.
Suid-Afrikaanse musiek op the drive with Robin Ross. This Prime Circle met Hello. We are chatting today about advice, people in their 30s, professional people, and not like Rob says, just because you wear a tie doesn't mean that you are just a professional person.
No.
But professional people that have got experience in the workplace.
I mean, you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Can give to 20-year-olds or people that are starting out now in their careers. And we have got so many WhatsApps in.
Robin Ross, from my side, definitely from an email perspective or any communication in a workplace for that matter, is if something upsets you, don't immediately respond to it. Rather step away and then respond once you're calmer. That also being said is acknowledge your peers and learn from them. And I think the overall message is just don't be arrogant.
I mean, that's fair enough advice, Nico. At some point, we also need to have a conversation. He's talking about email there. The BCC.
That and a young, I just, when he said, don't react too quickly, take a breather, step back, and then don't come through with a, as per my previous email, immediately. Maybe do it the next day. And maybe that line, I don't know.
Yeah, when you're irritated, blind carbon copying the boss isn't always the best idea. I'm racking my brain. I don't think I've ever heard any good stories where that has worked out well for anyone involved.
Hey, Robin Ross. My advice would be don't get involved with office politics. It can be your downfall.
Hoekom klink sy asof sy uit ervaring praat?
A juicy story, no?
Yes.
We had a guru a few years ago that spoke to us at work, and what I remember from him, make yourself unreplaceable.
I mean, it is good advice if you can.
If you can. I think in this day and age, no one's indispensable. Like, you can just, I know you can be really, really good at your job, but if you work for a big company, the chances are that they can find someone like you. Do you know what I mean?
Or an AI like you.
Or a young ChatGPT. But you know what I mean? Like, you can be I'm not saying don't work hard and don't kind of aim for the stars in terms of the quality of your work, but no one is indispensable.
What's the story about running away from a lion? You don't need to be the fastest person, you just need to be faster than the guy next to you.
Correct.
Hi guys, Martin here. So my advice will be your first job is not what you're going to do. I started out in IT, studied IT security and so on, and I ended up being a technical manager in the electrical field.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good point you make, Martin, actually. There is so much, like, people go out to get experience and then take a job and so on. I would actually be very curious to know how many people end up staying in the field that you started in. I think it's very few.
That actually relates to the message that Jeff sent us. Jeff said the field that you study doesn't necessarily need to be where you end up. Be on the lookout for career opportunities which are in a different direction of that which you studied.
I've read something in the news last week that I think the UK keeps churning out engineers and they keep disappearing into finance. And they're like, but Oaks, we need to build things. Can the engineers please take the engineering jobs? And they're stuck in a situation where they're all going off to banks or to tech companies or to, you know.
And then there's a critical skill shortage that they need to then kind of, fill.
I wonder, because the very first job I ever got paid for, I was an assistant cameraman for an organization in Pretoria, and we were helping SASCOC put together training videos of the athletes going to the Olympic Games. So I got to go to Bloemfontein to the South African Badminton Championship, and there were like 2 players that were going in the running for the Olympics or something. And then I would film all of their games, and then their coach would come along and be like, okay, I want to see like forehands where so-and-so lost the point. And then I would sit with all this video footage and cut out just the forehands where they lost points from like 19 hours of badminton. I could have been a sports analyst.
You could have. I
could have had a big, shiny, cushy job for a Premier League team coaching tactics and stuff.
Yeah, or a producer, or Instead, the things I learn about you.
Instead, now you get to sit here and listen to me. I'm so sorry. I should have just stuck it other place. What is your advice for someone who would be, 10, 15 years your junior in the corporate setting, in the work setting, in the professional setting? Let's help out the next crop coming through. It's early in the year, lots of people changing things. Send us some advice. 084 8500 942. It is Noah Kay, and it's new music on Jacaranda FM called Stick Season. Thank you so much for all the messages coming in. Honestly, if Roz and I did nothing else from 4:15 until now, except listen to voice notes. We still couldn't listen to all of them that have come in.
Ja, en dan vergeet jy ook van die teks wat inkom, because some people are just typing us messages, which are also full of wisdom and raad for when you want to just have a good work environment as a person starting out there.
What we have done is we've outsourced it to somebody else sitting in the studio next door. So we will have an article up on the blog with the top 10 pieces of advice we have learned that you have shared with us. Thank you so much. We're talking about advice that you would give to someone 15, 20 years junior to you in terms of work experience. Starting out a career, what gems do you have to offer? And the range, man.
For someone just finishing, my advice would be, please don't get married yet. In fact, if you are not in a relationship, keep it that way. Spend about 5 years working in different countries around the world. Discover what you do best. Because once you discover that, then you can come back to South Africa and do exactly that and change this country. Then you can find a spouse who is within that energy.
I love that, Jenny. I do, thank you. Because you know what? I think it's all part of the, and I'm using air quotes here, the process that should happen, you know? If you've gone to varsity now, whatever, if you've got a job, you're starting out, now what's next? You got to buy a house. Now what's next? You've got to get married. Now what's next? You've got to have kids. And there's pressure to get all of that done as soon as possible. Otherwise you don't feel successful. And I don't think that's true.
Ek dink ook,
don't think it's necessary.
Ja, wat haar boodskap ook vir my laat dink is om elke geleentheid te vat wat oor jou pad kom, wat vir jou kan groei as 'n mens, sodat jy daai ervaring in jou werksomgewing kan inploeg. Like, I love that that's the direction of where she was going with this.
Yeah, because I can tell you now, if you have an opportunity to run around the world in whatever capacity and do something in your 20s, you are not going to get it again in your 40s. You are not. There is no point in my foreseeable future where I'm going to take 3 or 4 years and hobnob around the world.
Yeah.
It's just never going to happen. I would love to. We would all love to.
Yeah.
But no.
But also I think what you said, Roz, as well, about the whole, the fact that you get experience around the world and you just become more worldly, that also helps you then in the relationship that you get, because you're a more complete, more well-rounded person with a bit of a career. Then you don't have to settle when you're in your 20s and think, oh, well, I mean, I guess we were in varsity together, we started working together, and then, let's get married.
You're still there.
You know
Makes
what I mean?
a lot of sense. Speaking of that, lots and lots and lots and lots of this advice has all come through and said, don't dip your pen in the company ink.
What?
Just keep that line very, very separate. I think that's fair advice.
But what about office romances? People meet in the office
what
all
I'm
the
talking
time.
about. Because where else must we meet nice people? To Joe's point, hey.
Because Rob, where did you meet your partner?
Please don't speak to me. I'm not on trial here, Roseanne McKenzie. I would like to take, what do the Americans call it? Plead the fifth.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
I would like to plead the 5th and the 6th and the 7th.